It's easy to be an expert. Take sports, for example. Thanks to instant replay and super slow motion, we can pick apart every millisecond of a play, see what went wrong where, and debate about decisions the players had to make in an instant, and then watch it discussed for the duration of the Monday morning sports shows. But you don't really know what it's like to be a professional athlete. No amount of X's and O's, statistics, graphs, or play charts can make it relatable. These things can help you understand what might be going through those playmakers' minds when they have to perform, but like the man says, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. In the real world, the business world, your business world, the distinction between the advice of an all-pro versus the Monday morning quarterback is important. There are far too many resources available for law firms, particularly with regards to marketing, that are put together by people who've never actually done it successfully, but are all too willing to tell you where to spend your money and how to invest in your brand, usually for a hefty retainer. Slick-looking book covers by marketing masterminds promising you unrivaled success. It seems too good to be true, and the reality is, that's usually the truth. So who can you trust? How do you find good legal marketing advice from lawyers who've actually walked the path and can tell you where the pitfalls are and how to avoid them? That's what we're talking about today on Lawsome, separating the all-pro advice from the Monday morning quarterbacks. Ready, set? Let's go.
Lawsome, the podcast for law firms. Powered by ConsultWebs.
Welcome back to Lawsome, the only podcast for law firms that will stay where you tell it to. No questions asked. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain the legal community on the latest in personal and professional developments. I am Jake Sanders, and with me is Paul Julius. Paul, where are we not moving from today?
It's an undisclosed location, Jake, but we're here, and we're watching all of you.
And we're not going anywhere.
Nope. Not till the boss says so.
Yeah. We got to figure out who the boss is, too.
Unfortunately,
Could be
we
one
just
of
keep
us.
getting these envelopes.
I know. I tried to fire myself, too. I was like, walk, buddy. I don't like the look on your face.
That's it.
That smirk, that funny smirk. Get out of here. What's on the show today?
On the show that we're not moving from either,
Hell yeah.
we're going to talk about legal marketing mistakes in an article from Forbes. And we're going to sit down with lawyer and Puma legal marketing legend Ken Hardison to discuss what it takes to successfully market a law firm while running it.
Pull up a plate. It's the Hot Takes Buffet.
The article today is from Forbes.com. It's written by Steve Olensky, who's a contributor, is what it says next to his name. Contributor. I want to have that on my business card. Jake Sanders, contributor. They're like, to what? And you're like, boom, we're already talking.
That's it.
Networking. It's easy. So this was a thing that you found. Do you want to go through it? Do you want to tell us what this piece was about? You found this one. Tell us, Paul.
Yes, I did. So this is Steve's 20, makes it 21 with his seventh theme piece, the 7 lethal internet marketing mistakes law firms make. Lethal.
Oh my God.
So I'll run through the 7 deadly sins that Steve lays out here. Number 1, thinking you don't need an online presence. Number 2, advertising your rates. Number 3, letting membership lapse in the American Bar Association. Number 4, ignoring pro bono work. Number 5, staying stupid about SEO and keywords. Number 6, not dressing to impress in pictures. Number 7, no video on your website. Each one of these points is followed up with like a 3-sentence paragraph, and it's fairly generic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about. This author, nothing against Steve, he's
a contributor. He's contributing.
And he's contributed a lot. This guy's, when it comes to marketing and, being an expert in business and whatnot, he seems to certainly have a foothold, and he may well be an expert in these things. I don't know for sure. And the advice seems reasonable, but, this is something that has been put together. This has been something that's been researched and done. I don't get the sense that this guy has actually been in a law firm or worked with lawyers in a real deep sense and knows
Mhm.
the particularities and the competitiveness. And so this kind of article is it's just kind of like, here's some things, don't do these things,
Mhm.
but we're not going to get real deep. It's just another blog post for Steve to contribute. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, so I like that these are lethal internet marketing mistakes that law
Lethal.
firms are making. It's lethal. So I was like, whoa, I'm paying attention.
Scared. I suited up before I read it.
Yeah, I have a hazmat suit on too. I have like lead lined underwear too, because I don't know.
I'm not surprised.
Truth is, this isn't as dangerous, and you kind of outlined what it is. To your point, this is actually good information. There's nothing wrong about this stuff. These are mistakes, but how can you unmake these mistakes? And then what does it take to change the way you market your firm? The point of this episode for me is that you can have expert advice and you can have a hot take about that expert advice, but really until we're on the field, understanding what it means to not only work in a law firm, because there's nothing really unique when it comes down to it of a law firm. It's a business place where people are calling, folks are showing up, they're bringing all of their baggage with them. People got to go to lunch, their calendars are messed up. This lady won't pick up her phone. I know I left a voicemail. It's like that everywhere. Business happens and it consumes the conversation around how we can market or how we can unmake these mistakes or how we can be aware of the mistakes. And I think to our point of this show is that how can you apply all of this information? How can you take this inspiration that these people are laying down, that Steve is contributing so heartfelt information to us? It's good stuff, man. But it doesn't mean anything if I can't bring it back and do something with it. Later on, Ken talks about the pipe dream. If you got a dream and you got no way you're not going to do anything with it, that's it. It's a pipe dream. So how can you apply things? How can you do it while the thing's running? How can you fix the plane while it's in the air? This doesn't necessarily give you those keys, but it does say, hey, there's a hole in the plane, and you're like, thanks, Steve. Can we fix it? Help us.
You know what this article kind of reminded me of? And that's a great point. I love the hole in the plane thing.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, bro.
Well done. Yeah, I use my parachute to patch the hole in the plane. But it reminded me of that show Shark Tank.
Okay.
Where people come in and they pitch their idea, and you've got these, 4 different entrepreneur sharks up there, Mark Cuban, all these different people.
Right.
And I always find it interesting when people come in and they're pitching an idea that they're trying to get funding for, trying to get one of these people to buy in, and the different types of products will have the different sharks buying into it. So, the person who's got a clothing line, one of these entrepreneur investor people is like, I have a part share of QVC. I've moved product from here and there. Like, I know this industry. And the guy who does e-commerce and makes software as a service, like, I can crush him because I already have the supply lines in shape. So it kind of made me think of that. Like, here's kind of like all those sharks sort of have their general marketing. Like, we know you're going to have to invest X amount of money. There's going to be product and development. We're going to have to scale up. But there are people who are a little bit more qualified because they've been in it and they know, like, yeah, you want to sell purses? I've sold purses. And it may be a better fit. And I guess that's kind of why I'm looking at this article. I'm not trying to pick on Steve, man. I mean, this stuff it's not bad advice.
No, yeah, exactly.
But it's just there's so much of this stuff out there that's general. And I think we're talking about something where it's like, if you're talking about committing a serious amount of money, I want that shark who's put his money in there first and knows how to make it work.
Well said. Later on, we get into it. We talk about the inspiration that happens from a lawyer, spent a long time building a dynasty, building a law firm and struggling with marketing and perfecting it. And now he's sharing his secrets. But one of the things that he said is typical conferences, you get a whole bunch of marketing information. He'll ask the audience, who's going to go home and do something about this? Who's going to go back to their firm? And people are raising their hands. Oh, I got a big list. I got I have a big checklist, and Ken drops the science. He says 95% of you aren't going to do anything with this because you won't be able to. So who's going to give you the advice on how to market your law firm properly while it's running is a lawyer who marketed his firm while running it and now teaches everybody how to do the same thing. So I think that's the advice that you need from somebody who's been in the trenches. It's nice to tell me what you think I should be doing, but this is where experience has come from, and this is where that advice comes from, and that's what Ken is bringing to the buffet of knowledge. So I would urge everybody to get a plate and a drink of your choice.
Yes.
Because we're hitting the buffet.
Yeah, let's go.
Stay tuned for more goodness from Lawsome after this message.
We really have a relationship with ConsultWebs that goes beyond simple business-to-business marketing. We have grown up with them as a company. They were there for us when we started. We were there for them when they started.
So I think that we were ConsultWeb's first personal injury client 15 or 16 years ago.
I've been working with them directly for 10 years now, and they've always been a fantastic partner.
It's vitally important to us that when somebody says you should hire Bellick & Fox, and they go to the Bellick & Fox website, they're going to go beyond the website and contact us.
They understand storytelling, they understand technology, they understand a website isn't just text on a page, it's how you create an expectation for what that means to work with us.
When we get a case, they are very excited in a really genuine way that I think reflects the fact that they sort of view their success tied to ours. So that's why we've continued to use them.
I've never had anything but praise for how they've been able to market our website.
Go to consultwebs.com to learn more.
And now for a Lawsome interview.
Ken Hardison practiced injury and disability law for over 35 years and built one of the largest personal injury law firms in the state of North Carolina. After the success he created for his firm, Ken decided to share his knowledge with other lawyers. This led to the creation of the Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association in 2009. PILMA is the only legal marketing and management association exclusively for injury and disability lawyers. Ken has authored numerous books on law firm marketing and management, including Systematic Marketing, his latest, and is now focused entirely on coaching lawyers into effectively increasing their law practice's revenue. Fresh off another successful PILMA conference, Ken is graciously donating his time to be on the show today, and we appreciate it. Ken, welcome to Lawsome, sir.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you having me, man.
So, you know this, personal injury law is extremely competitive and costly. How can law firms find and identify successful marketing methods? Is there one thing overall you would recommend law firms focus their marketing budget on? We're going right into it. What do you think?
Well, first off, before you start spending money, I think you got to think about this. You got to think about what your message is going to be before you go spending a load of money, and who your target market is going to be. And what I mean by that is you got to answer this question that consumers, when they're looking for a lawyer, it's like when you go look for a piece of real estate or a new home, you're not going to buy the first thing you see. You're going to do your research. And so do people, especially the new millennial, they do a lot of research. And you got to answer this question. Number one, do I need a lawyer? And then number two, if I do need a lawyer, why should I pick your law firm over all the other law firms out there advertising? And if you can't come up with that, and I call it the unique selling proposition, or some people call it the differentiator, then you're gonna be, I ain't gonna say wasting your money, but you're gonna be ineffective in spending your spend on what you can get out of the marketing. And then one of my other books that I wrote was Under Promise Over Deliver. I talk about the 3 phases of marketing. And what I mean by that is before representation, which all lawyers try to do. And that could be stuff like internet, TV ads, newspaper ads, just any kind of media, Facebook, digital media, videos. But then there's a second phase of marketing. That's during representation, when you really ought to make them raving fans and do exceptional client service and start teaching them and acclimating them to the fact that you want to be their legal advisor. And what that means is you want to be the go-to person when they have a legal problem. Even if you don't do it, you can send them to the right person, because number one, you want that relationship, because it's all about relationships. Number two, I had this happen before. They thought, since I represented them on one deal, that's all I did. And then when they had another case that I could have got probably a $150,000 referral fee off of, they just went to somebody else. And so what I try to do is teach them, and ingrain in their minds while I'm representing them that, hey, we want to be your go-to person. We want to be your trusted legal advisor, so that when they leave you, which is the third phrase, is that they refer their friends and family to you. Why would you want to spend so much more money on the front end when you already got people who know you, like you, and trust you? And those are the people who are going to refer you new clients. And so to do that, you got to do things like social media, Facebook posts, newsletters. It's what we call top of mind awareness. I tell the story about when I first moved to Myrtle Beach. I needed a plumber, and I got one. He did a great job, charged me a really good, a fair price. And then about a year and a half later, I needed another plumber, and I could not remember I couldn't remember him. And this is the fallacy in that lawyers think that because you represented this person that they'll never forget you. Well, they do forget you. They really do forget you. Mm. And so I had to go online and find another one. Well, this one, he also did a great job, and he charged me a fair price. And he did some things different. Number one was he put a magnet on my hot water heater with his information. But then he started sending me a newsletter about every other month, just a 2-page one, black and white. And he would have little helpful tips about things like, it's this time of year, you need to check your filters, you need to check this, just whatever, safety things. And next time I needed a plumber, I knew exactly where to go. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And the other thing that you need to remember is that people, I see this all the time. Everybody thinks that if you just put up there that we care and we're great and we got 50 years experience. Well, everybody says that, so you're not differentiating yourself. And so people really don't care about you. They want to know what's in it for them. I'm just going all about this, and I've not even got to your question yet, but I think this is the thing
I think it's all related, man. I mean, this is awesome. This is all really, really amazing stuff. So yeah, keep rolling. I'm loving it.
So the deal is, until you figure out what your message is going to be, what you got to figure out what's going to be your differentiator, then really you're not effectively using your money. And then you got to figure out who is my ideal client and what do they watch? Where do they go? I like to think about things like this. Who does a person like get in a car wreck go to immediately before or after the incident? Somebody gets hurt on a job. Where do they go immediately before and after the incident on the job? Somebody gets disabled. If I was doing divorce law, who do I go? Who do people that get divorced? Who do they go? What do they look at immediately before they decide they're going to get divorced, or once they start their proceeding? Or if I get a traffic ticket, see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you got to think about those things, and then once you figure all that, then you figure out what media you want. What do you want to do? And it's going to depend on your budget. I will tell you that the internet has leveled the playing field. Used to, unless you were in TV and you're the top 3 in the market, it's kind of hard to be a leader in your market. That's not true anymore. And especially with millennials becoming the biggest part of the market, they hate TV. They don't watch TV. They live stream everything. And plus, they hate being sold to. So what I've done over the years, even though I guess I was getting ready for millennials and didn't realize it, you don't know what you don't know, but I'm really big on educational-based marketing, and that's what millennials like. They want to be educated. They want to be part of the solution. And they hate cheesy ads, and they hate, so I would say online, figure out how you're going to deal with your database and your past clients to get them to send you and do some grassroots. But then you want to go online and, SEO, and then don't ever forget about local, the Google business page. I call it the maps section, with the Google Plus reviews. That's easy to do. That's easy to get money out of that. Get without spending a load of money. Get you a really good SEO provider that knows how to get backlinks. quality backlinks, not quantity. And you got to put up good, fresh, relevant content and really use videos. And if you can't afford professional, go buy your iPhone. They got HD quality, and go hire somebody off of Fiverr or some college student that wants to be a filmer and get them to edit it for you. You know, if you can't afford somebody professionally. But that's where it's going to be. YouTube is the second, and I can predict in the next 18 months will be the #1 search engine in the world. And so that's a long-winded answer to your question, my friend.
Do you have any advice? I know it's a little bit off the script here, but do you have any advice for people with regards to if I'm going to go ahead and make something with my iPhone or whatever? I've noticed that the stuff on YouTube is either branded or informational. You know, like a lot of the searches on YouTube, I want to see how something's done. I need to know, you know, how do I check the oil on my car? You know, something like that. So do you think it's more effective for lawyers to go in there and say, answer a question like that? Like, should I fight the insurance company on my own? You know, should I settle for the first number they have? Like stuff like that. Like, do you have any kind of off the cuff tips for maybe some of those searches that might be kind of easy to answer?
Yes, I mean, yeah, and I think those are the best ones. That goes back to educational base, and I think that what you want. Here's what I've done over the years. You can do it two ways. You can get your SEO provider to tell you, you know, or if you're doing pay-per-click, you can get them to tell you what the most commonly. Look at the long tail searches and see what are the long tail searches out there. What are the questions you're asking, and then shoot a video answering that question. But then here's what I did. Here's a very simple way to do it if you don't know what I'm talking about with long tail. You know, if you don't have an SEO provider, everybody in your firm, lawyers, intake staff, everybody, make them put a pad on their desk. And every time a potential client or a past client calls up and asks a question about your area of practice, write it down. And after you do that, when you write it down, what I want you to do is put everybody's together and let's see what are the top 30 frequently asked questions, and do that about once every 6 months. And then just roll them out. And what I like to tell people to be careful is when you put them on YouTube, you put them on your website and you can do the video, but also transcribe it out. And then you can compress it if you got somebody who knows how to do that, or I guess you could leave it there in Word. So that the crawlers, and you guys know this a lot better than I do. I'm not a real technical genius, but the crawlers will catch it. You know, so it'll up your juice. I call it SEO juice.
Well, another trick too is if you're hip with, you know, if you can get around analytics a little bit, go look and see what blog posts get the most traffic, and try.
Yeah, that's great.
That. Great idea. I love asking staff questions. That's an awesome resource right there. So you've said that lawyers need to think like a salesman, and I think we're getting a little bit deeper here from what we originally asked you about. But we've had lawyers tell us, I didn't go to law school to get into sales. So can you explain what you mean by that? And why is it essential for lawyers to kind of reapproach their marketing with this mindset?
Every business is selling something. I mean, here's the bottom deal. I didn't go to law school to be a salesperson either. But there's different types of selling. When people hear selling, they think I'm a used car salesman or somebody putting pressure on you. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is you've got to convey your value to your potential clients. And here's the deal. You can be the best lawyer in the world, but if nobody knows about you, they're not going to hire you, right? And I've always said that if only bad lawyers advertise, then you're doing a disservice to the consumer, because we need some good lawyers to be advertised too. And that was a big deal when I started, because that first 12 years of my life practice law, I did not advertise at all. And this went off my reputation and word of mouth. But things change, and you have to change with the times. And you can sit there and say, yeah, I'm not going to do it. It's not professional. That's not what I want to do. And you can go broke doing that too. But the deal is, I think you got to do it to the consumers. If you're a great lawyer and you do a good service, they got a right to be able to choose you. And I think you got a moral obligation to put your name out there. And I think that here's the other thing. You can build the best mousetrap in the world, but if people don't know about it, they ain't gonna buy it. You can look at it from any way you want to. It don't mean you got to get up there and holler and shout like a used car salesperson. You can do it with educational-based marketing and inform and give value. And I think you're doing a service to the public. I mean, it's the way you think about it. It's all about mindset with lawyers, if you think about it. I mean, when they hear the word sales, it's got a very negative connotation. And I used to be the same way, but if you think about it, when instead of saying sales, I got to get my name out there and give people value. And that makes it a little different.
And I like the idea of value. Just thinking of that as how can I bring value above and beyond my legal, because you're here for the transaction, you're here for that advice, that advisory role, the counsel. We know you can do that, and it's just interesting that marketing feels like it's ancillary to it. But I like that you say it's sort of a moral obligation if you're doing good law to get the word out about it, because that helps everybody. The rising tide and the boats and floating and all that. So getting back to that marketing, it's only one part of the picture. Like once you attract a potential client's interest, you still have to go, you still have a way to go before they're signed up. Marketing wise, do you think law firms are in general doing it right? Are there any common mistakes that you have seen that stand out? I mean, resting on your laurels is sort of that one. I think people saying, I'm not going to bend down to do advertising.
Yeah.
What are some other things that people are missing? I love the idea of the before, during, and after, because that is such an amazing mindset. And if it's about lawyers' mindset, that's a great one because it's about the time. It's not about specifically just grabbing for things. Marketing isn't just about advertising. It's about kind of understanding the bigger client experience. I mean, I love that. So is there any more tips or any mistakes that you see law firms doing commonly with marketing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I go all over the country I do like 2-day consults. And before I get to the firm, I hire this company to do like 5 ghost calls. And they're like people acting like, and they act like they've been in accidents tonight. And I make them call them during the day, during the night, on the weekends, during the day.
Oh, I like that.
And we record them. And it's funny. I'll go to law firms, I mean, really good law firms. I'm talking about people that they're spending. I mean, like I went to this one law firm, they're spending like $3 to $4 million a year on advertising and marketing. And they just told me, said, we sign up every case we want. And I said, okay. Inevitably, at least 2, and most times 3 out of the 5 calls are just terrible. And it's not that they're not training them right, but they're not holding the people accountable. It's like I told this guy, I said, you probably are signing up all the cases that you talk to, but you're not talking to every potential client. And it's just no way that you're going to. And so once he heard that, when he got through about the second call, he said, I got to get up and go to the bathroom. He said, I'm going to throw up. Because he's spending 3, he knows the deal. I mean, if you figure it this way, if you can increase your sign-up percentage by 10% a year, and you're signing up, just say you're signing up 10 cases a month, that's an extra 12 cases. If your average fee is $10,000, that's $120,000. But if you're spending $3 or $4 million, you're signing up 200 cases, that's the extra 20 cases a month. That's 240 cases. That's $2.4 million. So you can see, I mean, online, I think the biggest deal I see is you've got about 1 to 3 minutes when somebody inquires online because they're looking for information. And if you don't give them that information, they're going somewhere else. But I remember we were doing a mastermind and they said, we're just not converting. And I said, well, let me ask you, when they can contact you online, how long is it before you get back to them? They said, an hour or 2. I said, no wonder. I said, they've already talked to probably 3 other lawyers by the time you attempt to get back with them. And then the other thing is people give up way too quick. A lot of times what I found was people had 3 biggest objectives were, number 1, they want to see if they can do it themselves, but they just gather information. Number 2 is they got to talk to somebody that they trust. It might be their mother, their father, their husband, their wife, their daughter, their son, their uncle, somebody, what I call influential. And they're not going to make a move till they talk to them. And then the third reason is they really are just shopping around and want to talk to different lawyers, see what they say. So what I see probably 75 to 80% of law firms do, they just said, okay, thank you. And they send them a letter saying, hey, we don't represent you. You got a statute of limitations. I don't know what it is, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
But what they ought to be doing is sending them more information and educating them and staying in contact with them. If there's online, what's called drip campaigns, you can buy very inexpensive software like eye contact or something like that. I mean, I always use the more expensive one, but the deal is you want to keep feeding them information. You're not chasing them. What I'm saying is you're educating them. I never in any of my emails, I just give them reports. I might send them a video. I might give them something like, the 7 questions you should ask the adjuster before signing anything, or, the 59 defenses that an insurance company's going to use to defeat your case, or 37 things that the insurance company looks at when they evaluate your case. And that educates them. That's just on PI. If it was workers' comp, it'd be another thing. So you keep doing that and educate them, and that helps build trust, and it gets them to know you. And like I said earlier, people refer to people, hire lawyers they know, like, and trust. And I'd say 75, 80% of lawyers do none of this, and they're dropping the ball. They get it way too quick, because when the people are shopping, especially, you got to contact them, I think 6, 7 times. Some people say 3 to 5. I think it's more like 6 or 7. People give up way too early. But the good thing is, if you don't, then you're way ahead of the pack. You can have a great advantage over your competition if you do this.
So we're talking about that. We're talking about, maybe using MailChimp or Infusionsoft or something like that. Or maybe someone attends PILMA and they hear you talking about, chatbots or YouTube or something like that. And it's great. So they're interested in these new processes or marketing inspiration. But there's this kind of hump between discovering them and then actually applying these things. So do you have any advice for how lawyers and law firms could kind of overcome that analysis paralysis and sort of not knowing where to start?
Yeah. I think the deal is, it's like eating an elephant. You got to take it one bite at a time. What I see is we've had it happen at Fillmore. We just had an event. I mean, I asked them at the end, I said, how many of you got 3 things you want to do when you get back? Everybody in the room raised their hand. I said, how many of you got 10 things? 2/3 of the room at 20, half the room 30, or 1/4 of the room. I said, well, here's the problem. You're going to go back, and 95% of you aren't going to do a damn thing. Because you get caught up, you get pulled away. You got to work on your practice. And so what I try to teach lawyers is how to carve out 2 hours a day to work on their business. And if they still don't have time or they just don't like it, then go hire somebody and delegate it. But only take 3 things at a time. Never work on 3 things. And when you knock one out, then add a 3rd one, but never over 3 things, or you get nothing, then you get overwhelmed and do nothing. So those are some little tips I would say, but the big deal is set deadlines, because even you go back and you plan it out, you plan everything out, an ideal, a plan without implementation and execution is just a pipe dream, and it'll never get done. I see this I talk to vendors all the time, and they tell me the number one problem is they can't never get any approval on any darn thing from the lawyers. It'll sit on their desk for 30 days, and then they're moaning and groaning why stuff ain't got done. Or, they won't get their newsletter out on a prompt time because they set up there for them to review, and they're losing it because instead of putting them out every other month, they're putting them out once every 4 months. It's like blogging. And I tell them, if they're not going to do that, just don't do it. Don't waste your money. It's like blogging. If you're not going to do it regularly, don't do it. I mean, and if you don't have time, hire somebody. I mean, some lawyers don't want to deal with this, and I understand that. But you still got to be your voice, and you still got to be the leader, and you got to be the one to set the plan and then delegate it out and hold people accountable and set deadlines. Deadlines are very important.
And carving out time is important, and just realizing that time is that resource that you're not going to be able to get back. So just make sure that you're working on it, not trapped inside of it. And one bite at a time I think that's the tastiest piece of advice, because I was a marketing director for a law firm, and I would just get so inspired. And then you talk to 2 people about just changing one thing inside of Needles, or changing one thing in the way you kind of handle client management.
Right.
man, it's like 3 months later, you may have made moves on that one idea, but it's wild. You know, it's sort of like turning around an ocean liner. You know, it's like, I'll get there, but it's just going to take me 2 weeks to get to it.
Right.
So, Ken, great. No BS kind of advice from you. And I really, really appreciate it because you have a lot of inspiration. You have a lot of answers. You have a lot of tools, but it's nothing without application. It's a pipe dream. So I appreciate that. So talking about PILMA, talking about places where people can get the inspiration, but also advice on how to put it together. How can people learn more about you, Ken, and PILMA?
They can go to pilma.org, or they can email us at info@pilma.org. That's P as in Paul, I as in ice, L as in love, M as in man, N as in man, A as in apple.org. They go to our website, and we always have specials. I do everything I do 100% money back guarantee, because I don't want their money if they're not getting value. That goes back to what I said to start with. You got to get value.
Five questions we ask everyone.
What was the last book you read?
Oh, it was Grit. I read it on the airplane, and it's all about why are some people successful and other people aren't. And it has nothing to do with IQ. And I said, I'm a living example of that. You know, there's people that you got to have perseverance and passion. And those are the people that they've looked at this in military academies. They've looked at it in high schools. They've looked at it at Harvard. And that is the biggest deal.
Number 2, what is your favorite place?
My favorite place is to be with my loved ones.
Excellent. Number 3, what sites, blogs, newsletters, or podcasts do you regularly check in with?
Oh, gosh.
I know we're putting you on the spot, man.
Sorry, Ken.
I listen to your podcast, but I'm a big follower of Jay Abraham and Dan Kennedy and Search Engine News. Those 3, I think, probably the biggest. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Number 4, if you were stranded on a desert island and could only pick one condiment to take with you, what would it be?
I think it would be an Aladdin's lamp, so I could have all the wishes I wanted.
Nice. Nice. Okay, nice. We've made it to the end. Number 5, after a long day or a long week at work, how do you relax and unwind?
Have a few drinks of Jack Daniels and sing karaoke.
For show notes, links, and info, go to thelawsonpodcast.com or follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Be sure to leave us a review and rating in iTunes or wherever you find the you listen to. Until next week, stay lawsome.